You want to come up? Okay. So this will be also have an opportunity for the homeowners to tell us what you want to see and give us. If you want to get a little bit closer so you have better access to the mic, that'd probably be advisable. Oh, all right.
We always have that problem.
Okay. Vice Chair, we're prepared to begin.
Well, good evening, everyone. The date is Thursday, October 26th. It is 6:11. This is the Historic Moorish Designs Restoration Program Workshop. Welcome to each and every one of you. My name is Alex Van Meckel. I'm the Vice Chair of this board and also a fellow historic homeowner here in the city of Opa-locka. To my left, you have Bob Smith, a chair member here. A board member as well, comes with a lot of experience in the preservation space and from the county. And Dolly McIntyre over at the far right, also a board member. She is a legend in Miami-Dade County, a founder of the Dade Heritage Trust, as well as other historic trusts in the state of Florida. And we are so blessed to be able to have her imparting her expertise for the benefit of our city and our historical programming. Mr. Manager, how would you like to proceed in terms of introducing the program criteria?
Fantastic. I'll take the lead from here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. My name is Darvin Williams. I'm the interim city manager for the city of Opa-locka, and I could not be more excited than to see you all here. So under this administration, this is the first time ever and one of the first programs in Miami-Dade County that are going to actually be providing grants to homeowners of historic homes. So I am very, very excited. This is one of my key initiatives. This is something that I'm very excited about, and I'm so glad to have a commission that supporting our historic preservation of our historic homes. What this program is going to do tonight, we have some criteria. We have an application packet that we're going to go over line by line, get feedback from the Historic Environmental Preservation Board, but also to get feedback from you, the homeowners and our residents. So I'm going to next turn it over to Community Development Director, Gregory Gay, but I also want to give some background, right? So first, I want to thank every single member that has showed up, those that are also not present of our Historic Environmental Preservation Board. So this was the first board that I, as a city manager, had participated in, and the diligence that they have to get homeowners like yourself that are here in the city of Opa-locka informed and engaged. This is just the first step. So they've been doing and toiling away at this work here for some time now. And I just came in to kind of dangle a little money, a little carrot to kind of help get you all in here. But I think this is the first step of what's going to be a historic leap into the future for the city of Opa-locka. As a city manager, I see it as my fiduciary duty to ensure that your home values increase, right? Because as your home values increase, actually our taxpayer base increase, and I can provide, as a city manager, provide additional services to our residents through the will of our commission. So it's a very, very win-win relationship. So someone may ask, why is it so important for you to impact this historic neighborhood? One, it will set the city apart. North Miami doesn't have one. North Miami Beach doesn't have one. The city of Opa-locka has a historic neighborhood, and we want to preserve it and rehabilitate it and bring it back to its Moorish architecture and design. Two, we already discussed the impact that it's going to have on our property values, and not just for your homes, but the homes surrounding your homes. And three, this is a part of history. This is a part of culture that we also have an ethical duty to preserve. So we want to work with you. We want to get to know you. We want to lock arms with you and move forward and to make Opa-locka a place that is known for the homes that you own and known for the homes that you reside in. So without further delay, I want to, while these are our trusty volunteers, that come in on a monthly basis to help shepherd you through the process of preserving your historic homes. I want to tell you that this board partnered with our community development department as our zoning officials walking out the door. But I'm now going to turn the floor over to our community development director, Mr. Gregory Gay, to introduce each member of his staff and his team that you also need to get very well acquainted with as we go through this process. But thank you all for coming.
And thank you, Mr. Manager, for the introduction. My name is Gregory Gay. I'm the Director of Planning and Community Development for the City of Opa-locka. And as the director of that particular department, one of the things that our department is responsible for is the preservation of our historic properties. As some of you may know, and some of you may be residing in, Opa-locka is a very unique place. It has a very unique architectural style, and it is the place that has the largest collection of Moorish Revival architecture in the United States. And we're actually looking at expanding that, because while we do recognize the 30 properties that are a part of the historic register, there are somewhere between 30 to 40 additional properties that could potentially qualify and become registered historic properties as well. And I know that there's a few property owners that have an interest in having their property designated as a historic facility or historic home. So that's one of the reasons why through the manager, and we wanted to be able to promote and encourage you as a property owner to do some due diligence to help preserve your properties. So that's the whole purpose of this particular workshop, so that we can discuss what those particulars are. And as the manager says, we're the only municipality that we're aware of that's actually offering funds to help assist historic property owners with the preservation of their home. It's something unique. I don't know of any other municipality that does that, and that this is coming from someone who owns a historic property in another municipality. They're not giving any money away. You got to seek it out on your own. So to have that done by a municipality, a city, which is really a great thing to have in place. Allow me to introduce the persons that you'll be working with as a part of this particular process. First and foremost, I'd like to introduce Randall Robinson. He is our new city planner who brings to us a wealth of knowledge as it relates to historic preservation and historic properties. He is the author, a co-author of the MIMO document, which I believe our vice chair has a copy of it. And that was part of an exercise that he had been previously involved with another municipality in looking at the preservation of that particular corridor. Oh, all over Miami-Dade County. Thank you for that. Absolutely. So he has just recently joined us, so we're looking to build on the knowledge that he can bring to assist us in that. Secondly, I'd like to introduce you to Saul Bancoli. Saul is basically our economic management specialist, and he is the one who's helped craft the criteria as it relates to the application that we're bringing forth as a part of this particular process. So he brings a business sense to it, as well as making sure that the qualifications and necessary requirements are there in place. Last but certainly not least is Mr. Gerald Lee, who is our zoning official for the city of Opa-locka. He is our institutional guru as it relates to historic information, the zoning process, and how, as we take you through this particular exercise, making sure that the zoning is proper and correct, and helping you to get through the unfortunate side of the permit process, because we will have to make sure that these improvements are properly permitted so that we won't have any misgivings going into the future. So that is the staff for planning and community development. It's going to be working with you through this exercise. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Gay. At this time, do we have any elected officials that may be online, participating online? Okay, great. So we're going to proceed. Next, we're going to go through our, does everyone have a package that has?
I believe everyone's been presented the criteria.
The program criteria. Okay.
And to explain
perfect.
with the program criteria, we're going to have Mr. Saul Van Coley come up and give you some insight as to what that particular criteria is.
We could. Mr. Van Coley, come. Make it be easier for up here. How many residents here are, by show of hands, are owners of a historic home? 1, 2, 3. Okay. 4. Okay. All right. Great.
Yeah. Good evening, Mr. Chair, board members, and residents. I'm sure you have a copy of the criteria that we're going to discuss, line item by line item. And we want to make it a lot easier and transparent to every resident within the city that owns historical homes. So we identify things that we believe that homeowner will easily be able to provide. And I'm going to go line item by line item from 1 to 14 to identify. First, the homeowner must have legal ownership of the property. And that should be easier to prove without through deeds or mortgage documents. Property should be the main residence of that homeowner. That means that should be your main dwelling area where you live in order for you to be qualified for this financial assistance. And then number 3 is clear of liens and code infractions, meaning you have to be a good resident and maintain your property and follow the legal guidelines within the code enforcement within the city. Then 4, the property must be located within the city of Opa-locka. That means it has to be within the jurisdiction control by the local government. Number 6, the maximum amount for the qualification for restoration is $10,000. If you're approved, the max that you can ask for or approve for is $10,000. Number 7, all applicants must have home insurance. Number 8, any allowed repairs must be deemed not to constitute unhealthy environment for your neighbors or for the community. Number 11, the board and the staff of community department will select 3 qualifying contractors. And then we will select, during that process, we will give a disclosure as to how we're going to select one for you to pick, for you to contact, that will help you to process whatever your construction obligations are. Number 12, must agree to install a new Opa-locka register of historic place marker. That's a new marker that the city has. So upon completion of your construction, you want to be proud of what you've done. So you put a marker for all your neighbors to say, wow, this is nice, you know, for preservation of your property. And number 13, you must agree to maintain their property. Otherwise, you will be subject to code violation. It's important. That's the reason why we do this, to make sure you maintain your property and be proud of your asset. This is your baby, you know. So that's the reason why we encourage everyone to maintain. Plus, maintaining your property increase your value, increase the property value, not only for you but for the community, surrounding community. So you should be proud and say, hey, I did a good job, and they maintain it. And then your neighbor will see you and say, wow, John Doe is maintaining. We have to do the same thing. That's the reason why we insist. And then, last but not the least, we ask that you maintain that for at least the structure that you just rehab for at least a minimum of 5 years. That's all the criteria that we ask. Just minimum criteria, simple to come up with documentation, and to say we are the only municipality that offer this financial assistance without public access. A private owner of historical house having financial assistance from the city without obligation to allow public to come inside your residence. That is exceptional. That concludes our criteria. Any questions?
So we want to, now that you have the criteria before you, and keep in mind that our goal is here to get your feedback so that we can get this money out on the streets as quickly as possible. So I want to first open it up to our board to give us your feedback on the criteria, and then hopefully have a discussion with our residents and homeowners about the criteria. Any changes that you want to recommend or amendments or additions, now's the time to do it. Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bancoli, manager and staff. This is fantastic, and the board echoes the significance of the fact, especially since this is for privately held residences, this opportunity does not come often. So we're grateful to the administration and the council for supporting it going into next year. My only concern, and I think this is just one that all of the state of Florida has struggles with, legitimate concerns about, is homeowners insurance. I mean, some of these homes have long been held by the same family, may not have a mortgage, may not even have homeowners insurance. And I know that there have been homeowners that have tried to shop this market that we're in and have been met with little to no options. I don't know the exactness of what that has looked like, but that's a legitimate concern, again, historic or not, that people are faced with. So I don't know if that needs to be a requirement per any legalities and the exchange of monies for essentially the insurance to ensure that the house is going to be okay. But that is, number 7 is one in particular that I'm just bringing forth as a concern, because I know a lot of people are fortunate to have not been dropped by their insurance in some instances, and others were not so lucky.
I have excuse me. I have a couple of questions.
All right.
Have any of the various improvements that can be done to a historic home been priced out just so that we can give the homeowners an idea of what they would be able to accomplish with $10,000? And I'm asking it because prices have gone up so crazily, and I say crazily because I just put a new roof on my house, and it's a flat roof, and it cost me $35,000.
Yeah, if you look at the bottom of your thing, we identify other aspects
Yes, sir.
Yes.
I understand and
Yeah.
I see that, but I mean, do we have any idea what, how much it would cost to restore a horseshoe arch or a dome or anything?
It's going to be different for every home. So
Well, of course it is, but I mean, it seems like there ought to be like a baseline. Is so that we know because, $10,000 might not even begin to touch it. And
Well-
I'm hoping and wishing that it would.
well, let me say this.
Uh-huh.
$10,000 is the most that the city can afford to provide to the homeowners at this time.
Understood.
So I think rather than try to build a criteria for something we may not be able to do, knowing that the maximum is $10,000, is leave it up to the homeowners to decide, hey, this is going to cost $15,000. I'll put in 5 and I'll let the city put in 10. Or I don't have anything to contribute, so I'm going to pick something that, I know I can get done within $10,000. So I imagine that criteria is going to be a decision for every single one of the homeowners to make. And that's not really something that the city's going to push one way or the other. Now, we are going to evaluate each application based on the value that the selection is going to give to the community and the values of the home, which is going to probably be a preference toward aesthetics things. But we're open to however the homeowner decides they need to spend this money.
I agree up to a certain point. And I think that because of the fact that the homeowners are going to receive this money in order to make their home look more historic, for lack of a better way to put it, that the city ought to have some sort of involvement in that.
Well, we do have,
and some sort of say in what what is done. Not that they force them to do a particular thing, but I think it ought to be a collaboration between the city staff and the homeowner, exactly how that money is spent. And I would also like to piggyback on that too. If we're going to have contractors that are going to be available to do this kind of work, it might be helpful to have like a list of vetted people that, they can do this sort of thing. Back in my days with Dade County and in the rehabilitation, the single family rehab program, they had certain contractors that you could use. And I mean, let's face it, I mean, this is Miami and there's a lot of people running around that are just waiting to take other people's money. And I would hate to see a homeowner lose their grant money because, they got wrapped up with a dishonest contractor. It happens every hurricane. After every hurricane. So, I just feel like I have to be devil's advocate on both of these issues. So,
well, I think the second one, I'll start with the second one first, since it's clearly addressed in the criteria. If you look at point 10, it says Community Development and Historic Environmental Preservation Board will select 3 qualified contractors. And out of those 3 qualified contractors, the homeowner can pick one of those contractors that they choose to work with.
okay.
So we are involved in that. Now, I want to be more open to your first critique. How outside of a homeowner's answering an application as to how they would like to send that money, and then the city making a determination on to proceed or not, how would you foresee any additional collaboration between the city and the homeowner?
Well, the way that I would see it is if, you have the list of items that they can apply the funds toward. And the home buyer or the homeowner looks at, what they could do with that money. And they say, well, I'd like to restore the horseshoe arch that was squared off on my house back in the 1970s. And so, and the city makes an agreement to that as opposed to, I mean, again, being devil's advocate, there might be somebody out there that wants to square off a horseshoe arch, and we don't want that to happen. So that's why I was concerned that the city would still have some sort of input into, what exactly they do with the money.
Well, we will approve the contractors, and we will approve the work that is contemplated. But
Okay.
I would prefer to have the homeowner decide what additions, what historic additions or improvements that they would like to see.
As well, they should. So, so you were answering my question, I think, that there is a list of contractors.
Yes, it's point 10.
Okay, and that they would select from one of those contractors.
Yes, community development, historic, and you, the
Mhm.
board, will select 3 contractors or however many that we want to put in the group.
Right.
And then the homeowner takes these pre-selected contractors. These are going to be contractors that have been vetted by us, that we have determined that they can do the type of work that we're looking to get done, and that we can be in constant communication with. And then out of that pool, the homeowners will select which contractor they want to work with. And that's point 10. Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Just to add to that, I think it's our duty as a board, with whatever resources and contacts that we have at our fingertips, to be able to share either from our personal experiences or professional, any contractors that we know tackle this sort of work. Because I myself have gone through 10 to 15 contractors trying to address specific restoration projects on my home, a dome in particular. And there is not many people that are willing to get that crafty. Let's just say that, because they don't see the return. It is not realistic for them. But there are specialists and GCs more particularly that are a jack of all trades, so to speak. And I think that, some of these features have never been restored, like a minaret, for example. Maybe a contractor's worked on a mosque that has a dome on it, understands the engineering requirements. Needless to say, the engineering is going to be an important part of this, if it's a window replacement or a more prominent Moorish feature on these homes. But again, it's incumbent on us to be able to work with and lend our resources and our thoughts to city staff so that we can come up with this goal of 3. Let's just say that. I paused because it's hard enough to find one, but it would obviously be great to find 3 contenders. In addition to that, for any contractors that we do have conversations with, more so, for the bulk of this project and for the amounts attached to each one of the individual sites that are selected, perhaps the batching of will help to reduce the cost of the work that's done, depending on what that is. And it will, to the manager's point, be on a case-by-case basis. But, perhaps somebody that had a horseshoe arch doesn't want it to be an enclosed space anymore and simply wants it demoed and opened up to be and returned to the porch that it used to be. That's a lot more cost efficient than trying to get a custom-made window, obviously understanding your livable space changes, but nevertheless, case by case. And it just opens up the opportunity. And there's no question that, to some extent, there's going to be an obligation from the homeowner to be able to contribute certain amounts, because your $10,000 project might balloon to 18. So it's a responsibility of us as homeowners to know that that's just what happens when you have a home, historic or not. But this is an amazing starting point to be able to apply it and to activate some of the ideas that you've long had for your property.
Additionally, since I was looking at all this, I think a homeowner can ask any of the contractors, 3 contractors, say, please, can you give me a quote on whatever they desire first, knowing that the max amount from the city is 10K. So soon as you ask for a quote from the contractor, a qualified one, then you'll be able to deduce which of these specifics that you may want to embark on based on your project. As soon as you identify what the quotes are and the project that you want to do, then you're in a good position to assess yourself to see which one of the projects that you want to back on based on the already itemized aspects of the mortgage that we already quantified.
And if I may piggyback, I think in essence, we need to understand that the economics as it relates to historic preservation and making modifications or improvements to historic homes, it's an expensive endeavor just point blank. It's an expensive endeavor. And in most cases, this $10,000 grant is not going to fund the entire project. I think we need to go into this process with that particular understanding. If you can get everything that you want to have done within the $10,000 budget, God bless you. But you really need to have a better understanding and say, I may have to come out of pocket. And it's great that the city is willing to provide this supplement to assist me through this particular process.
So if I can kind of chime in. First of all, I would say that I think that the program and the concept and the mindset is definitely on par. But then I have some questions. Let me start with some questions and then I'll kind of follow up with some recommendations. So my first question, let's say for example, I'm a homeowner. I apply for the $10,000. I take the $10,000. Is there a possibility that I can go and re-up without that 5 years or within 2 years? So in other words, if I take the money and I implement it correctly and I go through it, is there any way that there could be a phase 2? So that would be my first question.
So at this time, that would be an annual decision that's going to be authorized, approved by a commission on an annual basis. So that would have to be a budgeted program. We will look to have this program continued on an annual basis and hopefully increase it, increase the amount available year over year. But right now, it's just a one-time program.
Okay. And then the next question is, if a homeowner takes this particular benefit, does it become a lien on their property? Or is it just an unencumbered gift that you're paying directly to the contractor?
It's unencumbered. It's unencumbered. The only scenario that where a lien could be a potential is if you hit that 5-year mark and it's unkept. Then there could trigger some enforcement action. Yes.
Okay. So let's go to another perspective. Let's say, for example, I use the $10,000. 2 years later, I want to sell my property. Is it paid back, or does the requirements to maintain the property then transfer to the new owner?
Transfer to the new owner.
Okay. All right. And then so let's talk about a couple of recommendations. So the way I look at it is, if I'm a general contractor and I'm trying to make money in today's world, in today's atmosphere, $10,000 is really a minute mindset. In other words, they're looking for $100,000 or more because they're looking at what their percentage is going to be that they're billing for. So in other words, if it's a $10,000 expense, and let's just say it's $20,000. Let's say the homeowner's putting in 10, you all are putting in 10, that's 20. And if he's taking 10 to 15% overhead and profit, then that leaves him with less than $2,000. If that makes sense. So you got to look at it from a logistic standpoint and from a financial standpoint from the contractor. Most of the contractors that you all are going to engage that may say, hey, unless they're a quote unquote carpenter or a handyman, they're going to look at it as, I can go and make more money in other places in order to be able to rather than having $10,000 projects, I can go have one $100,000 project and make off a lot easier. So that's my mindset. And I think that something that you all may want to consider is, in order to make the $10,000 stretch, like what we've done with other municipalities, City of Miami's grant program, City of Fort Lauderdale's grant program, it's a complement. So in other words, if the city is giving a certain amount, the homeowner, the business owner has to give a certain amount. So usually it's a 80-20 or 100. I think it's 50-50. Depends on what it is. If it's facade, it's one thing. If it's interior, it's another percentage. But I think that in order to say, hey, how do we stretch this $10,000 versus say, hey, I want to give you $10,000 and see how you can make it work. You may want to consider, all right, hey, we need you to match a certain percentage. That way that amount goes up. Therefore, it also, one, forces the homeowner, I don't want to use the word force, but at least it entices the homeowner to put more money into the structure, but then also it builds more value in the actual property. So I think that that's something to, because at the end of the day, you want the owner to have skin in the game as well. And I think that that's a good way of getting it.
Okay.
That's it.
Great feedback. I would love to hear Since we do have residents and homeowners in the audience, I would love to hear some feedback on two very important points that's been brought up by the board. One, homeowners insurance. Please share with us your experience with that, so we can look at that as evaluate that criteria. And then the point that was just raised, would this be more enticing as a match? So please, if we could have some feedback on that, it'd be fantastic. I think the mic is on. Yeah. We need you on the mic.
Hello?
Yep.
You hear me?
Yep.
Okay, there was a program here when I bought in 2005,
Mhm.
up to $50,000. They would give half. I came in here and checked, but I didn't have $25,000 to pick my house back then.
Mhm.
All right, so there was something back here then. All right, and going back to what he says, the prices on the houses, on our houses, we don't have standard sizes. They's got to be special made doors, windows, so it's gonna cost more. I did my doors, my windows not too long ago, it took me like 3-4 months to get approved because they wanted to make sure that I had the right doors. They cost $8,000, 2 set of doors. So the amount for our house is gonna cost twice as much as anybody else. I could do some work with $10,000, the floor. I could use it. I don't know about you guys, but we can do a lot with $10,000.
Mm.
Right?
So then I guess if that's all the money that we have,
It's great. A little
um,
bit helps.
I-
But
yeah.
you won't be able to do much because our houses are not standard houses.
okay,
It's different sizes.
okay.
And like he says, not everybody knows how to work on it. It's gonna be tough.
We have some more feedback from,
I have a question.
come up to the mic. We got to hear you.
While we're waiting for them to come up, do we know how many houses we want to fund in an annual year, in a fiscal year?
Well, we know how many houses are eligible. There are 30 eligible homes.
Okay,
How many of those are actually going to apply for this grant? It's unclear.
but from a financial standpoint, do we have like $100 that we're gonna say, hey, the max we can do in an annual year is 10 properties?
That's the math. Yes. So that would be a third of the homes.
Can we chop that up to 3? I'm just asking.
100,000?
No. The 100,000 to 33, 33, and 33 to get more traction.
What
I'm
do you
just
mean?
asking.
What do you mean?
So in other words, if you have $100,000 budget annually every
Yep.
fiscal year
Mhm,
versus saying it's 10, 10, 10, 10 times,
mhm.
make it 3 properties.
Oh, I
That
was
you do.
thinking, I was actually about to say, if it's going to be a tension, obviously, between do we want to give everybody something, a piece of something to work with, or do we want to, which would be 10, or we could move the program to select only 4 homes, and those 4 homes could get $25,000.
To me, I can't speak for the residents, but I think that it will go a lot further and you'll be able to do a lot more improvements with that as it relates to the unique dynamics and circumstances. That's just my opinion I'm just a old architect that's trying to practice, but I'm just saying, I think that the match would definitely help that. And then also increasing the value.
Okay. I would love to hear the board weigh in on this, please.
One possibility to think about is combining projects. If 2 or 3 homeowners are doing a similar rehabilitation to their house, they're fixing a window, or they're fixing a door, or they're fixing a parapet. Maybe there could be some economy by having them all together. It might make it more interesting to a contractor.
I love that idea. The challenge for us is that as we looked at the homes, every home needs something different. So if we said we're going to do windows, what about the homes that don't need windows? If we're going to do doors, what about the homeowners that have already purchased their doors? So it would be, we hope to get some economy that the contractor selected will get some economies of scale, because obviously they're all going to be in the same neighborhood. It's going to be the similar architecture and design, similar style cues. And I hope that whatever architect is, contractor is selected that gets this work, he's guaranteed, he or she is guaranteed $100,000 of work, obviously. Because that's how much money we're going to put out on the street. Now that might be at 4 different homes, but they're going to be guaranteed at least that amount of money. So that's one way that we're trying to gain some economies of scale and make the project more lucrative.
Another thing might be have a window contractor. If someone wants to put in windows, instead of going through a full-blown contractor, you call in the window company.
All right, now you're going to get down into your selection process. So now you're going to have to pull the tension in between how much work are you all prepared to do versus getting this money on the street. Because I'm very keen in listening to some of your criteria. That's going to be your selection process. So if we're going to now start including subcontractors and selecting subcontractors in a group of subcontractors, we're probably looking at another 90 days before we can push something out on the street. I'm not opposed to that if it be the will of the board.
And is there a set of design guidelines?
Yes. Well, I design guidelines, I think that's a little bit more specific than what we have. But if you look at the 12 items that we have kind of as cues, I should say, at the bottom, we do have some style guidelines, I should say, rather than design guidelines, not, specific to what you may have, but we have some recommendations. I think that's the best way to put it. Yeah. Yes.
To follow Board Member McIntyre's question about guidelines, I'm very confident that there are a handful of homeowners that never knew that they had a dome on their house, or perhaps they had just recently acquired their home and behind that wall, there's a pointed arch waiting to be revealed with a custom window to be installed. For the benefit of Opa-lockans, I think it's important to note that those that were built in this Moorish revival design, there's original archival drawings for nearly every one of the homes that still stand today. As the vice chair of the board, I'm more than happy to work with the city and any homeowner that is interested in going deeper into examining certain features that they'd like to resurrect. Perhaps they know, perhaps they don't. Perhaps they've inherited an old photograph that they work off of to help inform the process. That is, as of now, our design guidelines, if you will, but we're very fortunate, I should say, to have access to an archive from the University of Miami that has all of these plans or photographs available, which is an incredible resource pegged to a restoration preservation program. So that's number one. That's a critical point that I wanted to bring up here.
I have a question. Can a homeowner use it to replace air conditioning?
I'm not looking to, one, to determine what the needs of the homeowner are, or make a predetermination on what's best suited for the home. We don't know what we're going to get. So whatever they put in their application is what we're going to evaluate. So I would not be opposed to that consideration, because obviously it does a homeowner that has no air conditioning in their unit in South Florida little good to get a dome.
Correct. But then at the flip side of the coin is looking at it, if it's to preserve the historical nature of it, if that's the true essence of it, and air conditioning does not restore.
I would disagree. I would disagree on the simple fact that not on the technical side, of course, that's your area of expertise, but I disagree from a management style as I'm looking at property values. So obviously a home with air conditioning is going to be better well preserved and going to have a higher resale value than one without. In fact, AC, just like in a car, is something that dramatically changes the value. particularly in climate such as ours. So I'm not looking to dive into every single home and say, you can do this, you can't do that. Let's see what they need and build this program around the needs, if possible. We've got some very constrained resources here, and I think the more limitations we put on the program, the less likely that people will be able to take advantage of the money that we have.
I did have a follow-up question. I'm sorry, this is important. Is there a possibility that a portion of this money, or would it be expected that the match be for specific features like a dome or minaret that a structural engineer or architect is to develop by code a plan to go about approaching that essentially? Because I know that that's kind of in re-engineering things that have never been done on a residence property. It's different for commercial properties at a larger scale, but there's a couple of grand just in developing architectural drawings to accomplish that. So I just wanted to make sure that that gets addressed.
Yeah, so I want to be really clear. Everything must be done by code. This is not a workaround program that you're going to put a dome up that does not have the proper engineering structure to maintain it. That would be more of a problem than creating a solution. So everything must be done by code. I want to go back to a question that you guys have kind of skirted, but perhaps this would be due to the robust conversation, but I think it's a very important point that we need to resolve. So I would like to get the opinion of the board and then open it up to the residents and the homeowners here. Do you prefer the program as laid out, which would be $10,000 for 10 homes, or would you prefer a program that would be 4 homes selected at $25,000? And then I'll turn over the board, to get the will.
So I guess I'll go first. In looking at where the economy is and what the prices are, to me, I think that you will get individuals that will gravitate towards the 25 and 4 properties versus the 10. And the reason why the intent is that we're trying to do more impactfulness versus a whole bunch of little improvements. And even that where, let's say, for example, a person wants to replace windows, at least that $25,000 can cover a window package or a window and door package. They may have to go and paint afterwards, but hopefully that particular owner can go and do that as well. I think you get more bang for the buck when you put it to a 25 amount.
How about a compromise? How about 2 or 3 at 25,000? And then 10,000, work out the balance. And I think that the 25,000 is really probably more realistic. And I think we want this program to succeed. And if it does succeed, the commission has got to refund it because it's going to be good for the city. And you want the support of the community. And when 3 of these people get 25,000 and they do a great job with it, their neighbors are going to see what's going on. And they're going to say, I'm going to get in on that. So I think maybe the concept of 25,000 is more realistic in terms of achieving visible goals.
I do it.
Bob,
I would just like to ask a question, assuming that the other nuts and bolts are worked out and we get to the point of actually funding the 10,000, 25,000, whatever it is. Is it the city's intention to fund the homeowner directly and just write them a check? Or
So I would love to get into the mechanics of that after we get this question answered, because
well, no, but I understand, but it ties into something else that was mentioned earlier, that that the property would not be encumbered by a mortgage or anything.
correct.
And I believe that the city would be in a better position if a document was reported against the property, and it does not have to be in a mortgage. There is a name for the document and I can't recall what it is, but it spells out what the homeowner's responsibilities are and what the city's responsibilities are. And the reason why I say that is because, you know, you don't want it to turn into a situation where, you know, a contractor may not get paid, you know, and you have a situation where a mechanic's lien is filed on the property or something like that. So
Great points. 25 or 10,
what,
25K or 10K.
whatever you want.
Okay. All right. Anyone else?
I'll go ahead and real quick. I've long stated my support for this being kind of to board member McIntyre's alluding to a pilot program. I understand it's a one-time, but I'm in support of this singling out and doing right by a handful of properties. For the record, this was done in Tampa Bay, where they selected 4 homes, and it was an incredible historic win for that community. And it served as a benchmark for where they needed to go for phase 2. Where I don't want to do cart before the horse, but again, I think that that's going to be what's effective for the needs of our homes.
The 25?
The 25, yeah.
But in Tampa, how much were they spending?
I don't know case by case, but it was a larger amount. Don't get me wrong, but the needs of those homes were far more dire of a
Right.
different construction material. So we don't need to get into it, but nevertheless, it was a little higher,
Okay.
but not by much.
Okay.
We're right on par with where we need to be if we do it as a more selective pilot program.
Okay, so we have 4 homes at 25K, 3 votes so far. It's 3-0.
I guess my vote for the 25.
Okay, so 4-0.
Board Member Ferguson, I apologize for my tiredness.
Welcome,
You have
welcome.
5.
All right, all right. Now, I would love to hear from so we have unanimous votes from our board. Would love to hear from the residents. Would you rather see this money split up among 10 homes at $10,000? Or would you prefer to see 4 homes selected that get $25,000?
I think you have to come up to the mic.
And you're supposed to say your name and your address too, just to be technical.
Narciso Montero, 811 Duna, right
Okay.
across the park. right
Okay.
Behind the 25 will get it done. I mean, you can see the difference on any house. 10,000, you won't see any.
Okay.
It's
Is that unanimous among the residents? Those of us that are being shy tonight? All right. And as a simple way in, I do want to turn it over to Community Development Director Gregory Gay and his staff to kind of give us some round feedback on this.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. And it's really great to have this type of input from our residents as well as from the board. We've wrestled with this particular conversation in-house, so it's good to hear some of those concerns being expressed. We kind of mirror the opinions that have been expressed thus far. Of course, you know, we would love for the budget to be much higher, and we're hoping that once this pilot program is off the ground and people see the success that has been done in relationship to it, we will see the budget, Mr. Manager, we will see the budget increase significantly toward the preservation of historic properties. So that is definitely one thing that we would love to push forth. And then we can do a variety. There may be an opportunity for smaller grants for those small improvements that need to take place, as well as something that can be a larger, more involved type of preservation project. So we definitely agree with that. The hour has been well spent. I don't know if there's any other input that needs to be done.
maybe it's better if you, for them, the committee goes check to the house, goes to the house and they choose whoever needs it most. I mean, I don't need as much as one of these people here. I could use the money, but maybe some of these people here need it more than it. And you guys choose who needs it better.
I think that's a great point, but I do want some buy-in from the residents. If this is your home, my expectation is that you'll come to the city, fill out your application to make your case. Obviously, we'll have some preference to the ones that need it the most and try to get the best use out of it. But I'm not sure that's the best way to go about it. Because some of these homes that need it the most are not actually owned by people. They're owned by businesses, they're owned by companies. So I really want the active homeowners that are living in the community, that participate in the community to come in and say, yes, these are the reasons why I need this money. And these are the things I think that would benefit my home and how I would use it.
Mr. Manager,
Yes.
looking at the terminology, when you use, let's say, for example, we agree to 25,000.
Mhm.
You can always say 25,000 or less.
Oh,
So in
absolutely.
other words, you have the opportunity to say, all right, hey, your improvements is $15,000. We're going to allocate $15,000.
Yes, that we
So-
could do
so-
that as well. We could do that well. Now, quietly to the homeowners. If you pick something that only costs $15,000, I'm sure you might be able to find something in your home that might be another 10, but you didn't hear that from the manager.
I'm sure.
So I know the hour is, and I do want to do it. Oh, looks, you guys have quorum, right?
Yes, we do.
Look at God. Okay. So I don't want to keep you all. I do want to say, please look at the options, the recommendations at the bottom of the sheet, the 12. I just want to read those into the record and not to belabor the point or keep us here much longer. But I think that does need to be some feedback. These are just recommendations where there are not limitations, but some of the things that as homeowners that can be considered. One would be a dome, two would be crenellated parapets, three, the horseshoe arch, four, flat roof, five, minaret, six, textured stucco exteriors, seven, courtyards, eight, bas relief, nine, geometrics, interlacement of motif, 10, tile roof, 11, casement windows, 12, ceramic tile accents, and 13, Aladdin on a carpet. No, 13 is not there. So,
Actually,
yeah,
Mr. Manager,
Yes.
should we put doors on here? Because it says windows, but it technically does not mention doors.
I think that we should put doors on here. I think that's unanimous.
yes.
Yes, let's put doors on here.
Yes. That would be the 13.
And then also another recommendation, I know we have some residents that are kind of shy. So the question is there any way that we can leave a Dropbox for recommendations or afterwards if we need to get questions or anything or information that someone may be too shy enough to not come up to the podium and say something?
Please contact the city. Just call Community Development Department and say, hey, I want to have a discussion about the program. Here are my thoughts and recommendations. If you do it sooner rather than later. We're going to try to get this money out to you as fast as possible. And this being government, there is going to be a little bit of red tape. But so it may be, 30, 60 days, but we're going to be moving to get this money in your hands. Great idea. So just call City Hall. You can just say City of Opa-locka, call City of Opa-locka. Siri has our number. And then ask for Community Development Department. And myself or a member of my staff, Mr. Gay's staff, will be available to talk to you. Yeah, because there might be something that's on this list that it might be unique to your home that you want to have a discussion about. Okay.
Mr. Manager,
Yes.
timeline as far as deployment.
Again, we're looking to get it out as soon as possible. So I'd love to have this program, this money into the hands of residents within the next 2 months before the
Okay.
end of the year.
Okay, thank
Yeah.
you.
Merry Christmas. Thank you all. Thank you all so much. We really appreciate you coming out and participating. We're looking forward to working with you. I'm very excited to see how your homes are going to be impacted by this money. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Absolutely.
How do you turn this off? Right? You see the button.
Not to pay it out back.